Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to another great game of the round 6 of the Norway Chess tournament in 2023. We're following now a very interesting match between youngster Nodirbek Abdusattorov and the leader of the event Fabiano Caruana. So Fabi really played awesome chess so far. He outplayed Magnus, he outplayed the top GMs in the super event. The only thing that he messed up a little bit was of course his previous game where he lost with the white pieces against Shakir Mamedjarov, and in my opinion, nothing spectacular happened, because in an event like this where everyone can beat everyone, you have to also lose some games. But still, Fabiano Caruana has everything in his hands if he continues to play like this. If he plays sharp tactical chess like he played before, in my opinion, he's the top favorite to win the Norway Chess tournament for sure. So let's see now what happened between Nodirbek and Fabiano. They have their history. In the last couple months they played very often, and Nodirbek outplayed twice Fabiano Caruana in some rapid chess games in the chess kit competition. So maybe it's also time for Fabi to get his payback against youngster Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Let's see now what happened. Nodirbek opened with the move e4. Fabiano's response was e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez, the Spanish game, is on the board. Knight to f6, Berlin defense, d3, bishop to c5, and now bishop to c6. We have seen it very often, this exchange variation after b takes c6 or d takes c6. Black has this messed up pawn structure on the c-file. Bet has now the power of the bishop pair here all over the board. So kingside castling here played by Nodirbek. We have bishop to d6. Fabi protects now the pawn on e5. Knight from b to d2. Bishop to e6, controlling both of these diagonals. And now a very interesting choice here by Nodirbek Abdusattorov. He plays now the move knight to b3. And interestingly here, we have to say Fabiano Caruana played a very spectacular game against Hikaru Nakamura back in 2022. So he played it in the last year, where he played this knight to b3 maneuver. Simply getting this knight on a very active square, preparing also to play something like knight to a5, attacking the pawn on b6 in the game between Caruana and here Hikaru. Hikaru played move queen to e7. Fabiano continued with knight to a5, and now after rook to b8, bishop to g5. So it's now a different story with this whole concept knight to a5. Fabiano Caruana prevented here Hikaru Nakamura to castle queenside. Many times in these types of positions you want to castle queenside. So after knight to b3, here Fabi, that's why I played the move b6, leaving himself a certain flexibility to maybe even castle queenside. So he's not allowing this knight to the a5, or maybe even afterwards maybe the move knight to c5. So he's controlling this very important squares with the move b6. So Fabi, you see, also knows his stuff with the white pieces, but also knows how to counterplay his own ideas sort of here in this types of structure. So b6, nice prophylactic here move by Fabi. Although this queen to e7 line by Hikaru Nakamura, in my opinion, also is perfectly fine. So here Nodirbek goes with an interesting idea, a move that has never been played in chess history so far, sort of a theoretical novelty, interesting idea. But of course here Fabi has some counterplays: bishop to g4, f3, bishop to h5, king to h1, getting out of this maybe dark square mess. Maybe in the next couple moves we can expect some attacks on the dark squares. Although d4 is quite interesting already. Black is basically forced to step back here to d7 after something like d takes e5, knight to e5. Maybe later we can prepare some breakthroughs with f4 e5. This would be also very interesting. But Nodirbek played so far king to h1, then maybe he wants to play d4 and then the follow-up f4. This move of course has to be also further prepared because of this annoying stuff here by the light square bishop. So here Fabi goes knight to d7. We have knight to h3 with the preparation to jump with the knight on f2. We have f6, preparing maybe bishop to f7. Let's see, white gave up the light square bishop. Now basically black is controlling the light squares all over the board with this beautiful light square bishop. We have bishop to e3. We have queen to e7, which gives now Fabiano Caruana a certain flexibility to castle queenside or to castle kingside. So he's basically waiting here what is Nodirbek going to do, where he is going to attack. Of course, if Nodirbek maybe would have started his attack immediately with the move a4 and a5, then Fabi could of course castle kingside and get out of this potential attack. really nice flexible moves here. So in the game knight to d2, we have knight to c5, knight to c4. So you see Fabiano doesn't want to castle immediately in this types of position. We have knight to e6, controlling the square d4 and f4, and after move knight to g1, now comes a very interesting choice here by Fabi. He goes aggressively with a flank attack on the king side with the move g5, and he decided to stay with the king in the center. Really wild stuff, really nice positional but also tactical play here by Fabiano Caruana. Knight to e2, controlling the square f4. We have bishop to f7, queen to e1, we have h5, and now knight to d6, c takes d6. We have now reached a position, an opposite colored bishops middle game here by both sides. You see white has the dark square bishop, black has the light square bishop in a potential fully endgame. I think this should be still an equal game for sure, a drawish line, but of course we have to say it, this pawn structure like Fabiano Caruana has is sort of a snake variation, snake pawn structure setup, but it's also a little bit weak. You can always break these types of structures. You have also left so many spaces behind. Now with, I think, ideas like d4, we can really make an impact here in the center of the board. Maybe rook to d1, d4, c3 d4, maybe in some lines even g3 f4. So Fabi has to be careful. He advanced the pawns, but he has also left some spaces behind. Now maybe Nordic can use the spaces in the attack. So Nordic attacks now the queen side. We have now the move h4. We have now the move a5, b5 by Fabiano Caruana passing through. We have now the move h3 and now a6, keeping here the solid structure on the queen side. So d4 finally here by Nordic Abdulsatorov. We have now the move c5 and now c3, fixing everything with the preparation, as we said, to play maybe rook to d1, then d takes c5, and maybe occupying the semi-open d file. So king to f8, interesting idea here again by Fabi. He wants still to secure the king here on g7, but it's also sort of castling by hand, but he wants to keep his action here with the rook on the h file. So rook to d1, we have king to g7 as promised. The rook is staying still on the h file, where also white king is. If something clears on the h file, then of course the king could be endangered. We have queen to f2, rook to c8, rook to d2, queen to c7, rook to a1, protecting now the pawn, and rook from h to d8. And now very interesting choice here by Nordic b4. This is the way they go, simply pushing it to the limits now here on the queen side. You have to open the position somehow if you want to make anything out of this. We have to say it also, white has a space advantage on the queen side, so that's the side that of course white should continue here to push. b4, interesting choice here also by Nordic Abdulsatorov. C takes d4, we have c takes d4, queen to e7, rook from a to d1, continuing the pressure here on the d file, and after king to h8, now here Nordic plays, in my opinion, not the best follow-up. He plays queen to e1, although d5 would be very interesting. The knight has to step back, and look at this. Black would lose now the rook connection. This would be, I think, the most important problem in black's position. I think black here, Fabi, of course, would lose the rook connection, which means now that Nordic could potentially compete now on the c file with moves like rook to c1, because the only strength that I see now in black's position is of course the c file. So that's why with ideas rook to c1, white could solve all of the positional problems. And I like also the queen and bishop battery here on dark square, so this would be maybe a much better continuation for Nordic. But he played now the move queen to e1, never really challenged here the knight with the move d5. After rook to c4, again Nordic has the opportunity to play the move d5, which would be, in my opinion, simply the best continuation, then to protect maybe the pawn on b4. But he played now d takes e5. Now we have d takes e5, and you see now the knight is staying very active here in the center of the board on e6, and the knight can control the f4 square, but also can control the d4 square. Maybe Nordic missed his chances with his potential d5 move. Now I think Fabi gained equality and has now maybe even a slightly better position, I would say, when it comes to positional understanding, because he has now the more active piece. He has especially this annoying rook here on c4. So we have here rook to d6, so we have a rook to Rook to d8, competing now on the d file. Rook takes d8, knight takes d8. We have g3 here by Norway, trying to somehow break and enter here on the king side. H takes g3, knight to g3. There is now the threat of the fork on f5. That's why bishop to e6, controlling the square. Queen to d2, attacking now also the knight on d8. Knight to f7, bishop to c5, hitting the queen, and now queen to e8, and now h4. So, okay. Nothing dramatic is happening, I think, because still Norway has here opportunities to trade off the rooks, trade off many pieces, going again into opposite color bishops endgame, where white has the dark square bishop, black has the light square bishop. So all of still both kings are naked, but I think in top grandmaster level they know how to defend this type of position. So in my opinion, still an equal position for both sides. So we have here queen to h8. Here Norway passes through with the move h5. Keeps now a very annoying pawn here on the king side. We have queen to h7, king to g2, getting out of the h file mess. We have queen to h6, and now king to f2. We have g4, bishop to e3, hitting the queen. The queen drops back, and now we have f takes g4. We have queen to c8. Very nice move here by Fabi. He doesn't want to pick up the pawn on g4 immediately. He threatens first rook to c2, trapping the queen now. So that's why here first we have to play bishop to c5, and now after bishop to g4 that Fabiano Caruana played, now comes, in my opinion, again another very important moment of the game. Here Norway played rook to f1, and as I said in the middle game or for an analysis here, the rook on c4 I think is now the main strength of Fabiano Caruana's attack. So Norway should have played simply rook to c1, get rid of the piece, hope for the best, go into a simplified line. It's a drawish position anyway. You can just mess it up, or you can hope that your opponent messes it up. And I think Fabiano is not the type of player that makes so many blunders in his position. So in a position like this, I think you have to settle for a drawish sequence for a drawish line. So that's why rook to c1 would have been the move. Rook to c1, queen to c1, knight to g5, bishop to e3. You're competing, and okay, you're trading off more pieces, and this is pretty solid. But okay, after move rook to f1, nothing is lost still. Bishop to h3. Again, Norway has the opportunity to play rook to c1, but he decided to play rook to g1, placing the rook where already the king is. The king drops back to h7, and again Norway continues his plan on the king side. Again, he had the opportunity to play rook to c1. He missed it now 3 times in a row. Not really a good continuation. With the move h6, this pawn becomes now actually a huge problem. It seems so that this pawn is attacking something, but actually it becomes now a problem because this pawn, after a couple more moves, can be maybe even taken. So now Fabi sends some blood here. He says, you had your chance to trade off the rooks 3 times in a row. Now I'm getting a huge activity here. If you look at this, he played now the brilliant queen to g4, getting in front of the rook. Really wild stuff. Many of us would be scared about this move. What can you do? Maybe you can play bishop to e3, but still look at this. Queen to h4 is going to happen. The knight is paralyzed. In the next couple of moves, we're threatening also to pick up maybe the pawn on e4. Here after move queen to g4, Norway tried this idea. Knight to f5, attacking the queen. Fabi takes out now a very important pawn on e4. Don't forget about it now, because this is now not a drawish position anymore if this game reaches the fully endgame stage, because black has now 2 connected passers here on the E and F file. So when we let this pawn roll here on the king side, then I think they're basically unstoppable, or you have to at least sacrifice 1 minor piece for the 2 pawns. So in my opinion, from this point on, it's a one-way ticket in black's favor. So okay, here Norway had his fun with 1 check, nothing spectacular. We have king to h8, knight to e3. The knight drops back. We have knight takes h6, again a good move, getting rid of the key defender of the rook on g7. We have now knight takes c4. Norway took the rook, but of course also Fabi has now the opportunity to take the rook on g7. We have bishop to f8, interesting idea by Norway, but after king to f8, queen to h6, there are no good checks anymore against black's king. Now you could maybe play queen to h3 here, but after b takes c4, first of all, what we can notice, black has a pass pawn here on the c file and has now 2 connected pass pawns here on the king side. So still this is a winning continuation for black for sure. But after move king to g8, Norway played knight to e3, which is even a slightly worse continuation, because because after bishop to f5 by Fabi, queen to h5, bishop to g6, queen to h3, you see Fabi cannot deliver any checks, and now Fabi just pushes the pawn further. They're basically unstoppable. As I said, you can maybe sacrifice the knight for maybe even these 2 pawns, but in a fully endgame, this is now completely winning here for black for sure. So queen to h6, king to f7, we have queen to h8, queen to d4, and after king to e to f4, knight to g4, and now Fabi plays a very interesting choice. He plays another beautiful move, f3. Although, believe me or not, this move is the first move that's evaluated by the top engines as an inaccuracy. So far, Fabi played the brilliant moves. Fabi played almost with 100% accuracy here till this particular moment. f3 is... the engine said it's not good, but still it's a winning sequence. It just prolongs the game for one more move. There is a forced checkmating sequence in 11 in this particular position. After this move, it's a new forced checkmate sequence in 11. It's almost like Fabi lost one tempo, but actually after move f3 here, Nordebek immediately resigned. He understood what's going on. Whatever you do, basically it's winning. So I really hate when the engine evaluates these types of moves where you're still winning for sure as an inaccuracy. I think inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders should be evaluated in a previous stage of the game where you're still battling for the win. Now this is obviously a win because after king to f3, look at this, Fabi prepared this beautiful e4 move, attacking the king and also trapping the queen. If you play something like king to e1, if you don't want to play this line, then queen to g1, we deliver a check, and now with queen to c2, it's even a beautiful checkmate. So stunning game, I think, here by Fabiano Caruana. This is the way to go. I think he waited for his chances. He never got his position messed up. He waited maybe here Abdusattorov to make a mistake in the game, but interesting calm play here by Fabi, challenging every particular moment of the game, going into an end game where of course he could have settled for the draw. He would probably be satisfied with the draw, but then when the time came when he had his chances, he took them and won this beautiful chess game with the black pieces. So it means now that, look at this, we have now a new situation on the rating list. Fabiano Caruana is now still the number 2, but look at this, Magnus lost many points in the super event. Now there is only a 51 rating points are now between them. If Fabi continues to play like this, and if Magnus continues maybe to play bad like this, this could be maybe a new rating era in chess history. Maybe Fabiano can become the number 1. Look at this, Hikaru is also close. He has gained 8.5 points in the super event. Alireza is still there. He lost some games, he won some games, but interesting rating performances so far by this top grandmaster. So let's see also now the current standings. Fabiano Caruana is in the lead. He has 13.5 points in front of Hikaru Nakamura, who has 11 points. So in a ideal world for Hikaru, maybe Fabiano loses and Hikaru wins, then Hikaru could take over because you gain 3 points when you win the game. But look at this, Gukesh is also interesting. Look at this, he only lost 1 game. He has won games. He has played 4 draws, 3 Armageddon games that he won. Alireza Firouzja is playing warm cold so far. Shakil Mamedjarov 2. Magnus Carlsen, of course, not a good tournament for him, but look at this, Magnus Carlsen has 5 Armageddon wins out of 5 Armageddon games, which is also crazy performance. So still many things can happen, but this tournament is heating up with, of course, the top favorite Fabiano Caruana. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Berlin defense for sure. If you want to see more about this chess event, check out our coverage so far. See you soon with some more videos. And what to say, chess is the best, of course.